We've all been there, right? You're walking up a cool mountain and suddenly you find out there's a little penguin lost. So you have a slide around with it and then do your best to help. But before you know it, you're heading down a slippy slope and naturally you chuck the penguin away to save yourself, much to the dismay of the big penguin. Of course, this is Super Mario 64 and you can always have another try at getting the penguin back safely and returning to the castle like an absolute champion.
Here we go!
However, that is just one instance of Little Penguin falling over the edge. Of course, it could always be a case of you feeling particularly evil and like to throw penguins over cliff tops. Hey, I'm not here to judge, but what I am going to try and do is explain exactly what happens to Penguin if or when it goes over the edge into the abyss. To try and explain, I'll show a few different scenarios. Of course, normally as Mario, if we take a running leap off the edge of the map, the screen shrinks and eventually turns black before we get spat out of the level and lose a life.
Mamma mia!
What about if we take away the black shrinking screen? Whoops, let's try that one again. Not much difference there then. The shrinking screen is a HUD overlay that makes the exiting of the level look better, but it does also have a bit of a purpose to do with what I'm going to show next. You may have noticed that there was a shadow below Mario even after going over the edge of the map. This doesn't happen whilst playing the original N64 version, but it does here give us a clue as to what's happening. If we take a look at a map editor and render the collision map, we can see a huge platform is below the map itself. This is known as the death floor. Now, knowing this is down there, what would happen if we blank part of the game's memory that controls us being warped out of the map and losing a life? Interestingly, as you can see, because this is a physically solid platform that just has an alpha channel to make it invisible, Mario can walk on top of it, which is also a reason why the shrinking HUD overlay occurs as a double failsafe to stop anyone seeing that there's a solid platform down here should Mario hit it. And of course, this isn't just a one-time thing for Cool Mountain. Any level that Mario can fall from the edge of the map has one of these underneath. Alright, so we know what happens if Mario falls off, but what about Little Penguin? Well, when we drop it over the edge, if we make our way back to the top of the mountain, we can find it up here again. How does it do that? Well, from this overhead view, which wouldn't normally be possible, we can see that once dropped, quite far down Penguin suddenly disappears, but by testing a little more, we can find that it isn't the death barrier that causes this, because if Mario jumps too, we can see Penguin bounce on the death barrier for a split second, and just to double check this, I disabled the warp, threw Penguin over, and then jumped off with Mario. Penguin still disappeared, but Mario landed on the death barrier below. Opposite of this, when jumping at the same time as Penguin falls, both Penguin and Mario land on the barrier. So we know now for sure that Little Penguin's disappearance is nothing to do with the death barrier. So what is it? Well, the best way to think of this is if you imagine objects have a sphere around them, and when Mario gets close enough to enter the sphere, they spawn. Then you can imagine why Little Penguin disappears, because Mario is too far away when we drop Little Penguin. This is also the same if we place Little Penguin somewhere and walk away too far. Just out of curiosity, this time I attached the camera to Little Penguin rather than Mario, and take a look at what happens. The camera makes its way back up to Little Penguin's spawn point, but it's nowhere to be seen. Why? Because of course Mario is still at the bottom of the map, so let's teleport him up here.
Hello!
The final test to show this working was to find a spot that I could make Little Penguin disappear and respawn at the same time. So here it is. And that is it for this particular mystery. I hope you've enjoyed the video and possibly learnt something new as to what happens to Little Penguin when dropped over the edge. I have got another Mario64 mystery coming very soon, so stay tuned for that. Thanks to my members and patrons, you guys are awesome, and as always, until next time, take care.